Hi guys, it's Lisa and I'm here today. Say hi, honey.
Hi.
I'm here today to make a video of a low carb pecan pie bar recipe. Yum. And it uses almond flour. So we'll see how we do today. Okay, so I have some of the ingredients here that we're going to start with to make the crust. For the crust, we have 1 1/4 cup of almond flour. We have a 1/4 cup of granulated stevia and also a 1/4 teaspoon of salt in this little bowl. And over here is a 1/4 cup of butter cut into small pieces. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get our food processor, which I have here. And we are going to add in our flour. Hard to do when you're holding a camera. And then we're also going to add in the sugar and the salt. Well, I should say the stevia and the salt, not sugar. So, and then once we have that added, we put the lid on. And you're just going to pulse it a few times until it's And once you've gone ahead and pulsed it for a little bit, you're going to take the top back off and you're going to spread the butter around inside. You don't want it all in one place. And it is chilled butter. It is not butter that you want to leave out because you're trying to look for kind of a crumbly texture when this is done. Just trying to make sure that I get it around to all the areas in here. Okay, so once that's in, just wipe my hand off, and you're going to go ahead and you're going to put your lid back on your food processor. I suppose you could do this with a hand mixer as well if you don't have a food processor, or you could even use a blender. And then you're going to place it again. And this could take a few minutes. Okay. Oh, it's starting to do good. I'm going to let you see it right now so you can kind of see the consistency, but it needs to be a little bit more than that. So it's kind of doughy at this point. Let's take the lid off and take a look inside. So this is the consistency for the crust prior to you putting it into the 9x9 pan. So I'm going to pause it here and we're going to go and grab the pan and put it in. Okay, so this is a 9x9 silicone pan, and I've gone ahead and sprayed it with a little bit of non-stick spray, even though the recipe does not state that. Focus on here, honey. Thank you. And I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to add the crust mixture, maybe. To the pan. It's going to be a thin crust. And it says to spread it out. This could actually take some time, it looks like, because I don't know how this is going to fit in a 9x9 pan. So I am going to experiment with it, and I'll come back to you. Okay, so it took some doing, but I basically was able to carefully stretch the crust batter to fit the 9x9 pan. And to do that, I actually used parchment paper on top. and just gently pressed until it came out. And then once it was pretty close, I just kind of used my hands and got it to go to the edges. So this is going to go in the oven at 325 for, I think, approximately 12 minutes. Let me just double check. And it basically says, 12 minutes just until the edges are brown. Do not want to over bake this. So I'm going to be really checking it because it's quite thin. I've just removed my crust from the oven, and this was at 10 minutes. So I definitely do not feel I could be cooking this any longer than that. So I'm going to remove this and let this cool, and I'm also going to go ahead and put my pecans in the oven to toast them for just a little bit. And that is a cup of pecans that I'll be using. So the pecan pie filling is made from powdered swerve, okay, which is not the granular, so confectioner's swerve or equivalent, heavy whipping cream, 2 large eggs, pure vanilla extract, salt, butter, pecans, and then I am using Carrie's sugar-free syrup. And the recipe actually calls for something called, I think it's Yacon, and it's spelled Y-A-C-O-N, syrup. But in everything that I researched, it looks like if you're going to substitute for the Caro syrup in a recipe, you can also substitute using maple syrup. So I've chosen to try using the sugar-free syrup in this recipe. We'll see how it is. And basically, it's just for color and flavor. So, and you don't need very much. So hopefully this will be a good alternative. Okay, I'm back to start working on the filling. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to put a pan on the stove with low heat, and you're going to put an entire stick of butter in there, and you are going to melt it. And you want to keep it on low heat because you do not want to burn the butter. And the other ingredients we're going to be adding to this after the butter melts is we're going to add the 2/3 of a cup of powdered stevia and 2 teaspoons of the sugar-free syrup. And we're just going to put that all in this pot on low heat. And then we'll just kind of whisk it together. And then we'll remove it from the heat and we'll move on to other ingredients. And I do have the pecans in the oven right now to toast, and you want to do a light toast on them, not a dark toast. Okay, I'm going to bump this up just a touch. So I really like pecan pie, or at least I used to like pecan pie. So I'm really curious to see how this is going to come out. I'm hopeful that the flavor is similar. I know the consistency won't be exactly the same, and that's fine. I'm just looking for something to give me some semblance of that special treat, which I love, especially in the fall. My sister makes the best pecan pie. It's chewy and thick. Okay, the butter's melting nicely. We're getting there. Maybe I'll check back after the butter has melted completely. Okay, so we're back, and you can see that the butter is melted, and I'm going to add in now that 2/3 of a cup of my powdered stevia. Get that all in there and mix that up. Okay, and while I'm stirring that, then I'm going to also add in the 2 teaspoons of the sugar-free syrup, maple syrup. Okay. And we're gonna combine this. We're gonna keep it on the heat for a minute here. And again, low heat because we don't want it to burn. You can see how this is changing consistency and changing color. It's got more of a, almost like a light caramel color to it right now. Okay, and then we're gonna remove this from the heat and move on to some more ingredients. Okay, so we're back to add some more ingredients. We're gonna add in a half a cup of heavy whipping cream. And we're going to add in, ooh, I don't think that's it. The vanilla is next. We're going to add in 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla extract. There's one, and about a half. And we're going to mix that well. Oh, it smells good. I love the smell of vanilla. Okay, and then we're going to add to this a 1/4 teaspoon of regular table salt and 2 large eggs. You want to whisk this well. And again, this is with the heat off. There's no heat on at this point. And this is your consistency. You can kind of see it's got a little bit of a thickness to it. It's not super thin, but it is heavy. That's the heavy whipping cream, I'm sure, that's given it that consistency. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go and get my crust, and we're going to move on from here with my crust. And I wanted to let you know that the recipe did call for bits of dark chocolate shaved into it or cut into the recipe on top with pieces. But I opted, well, number one, I can't find the lilies here, and I didn't have any on order or anything like that. So I'm just going to do it with a few of my sugar-free chocolate chips that I have. But again, it did call for dark chocolate that was like kind of chunked in there, about 2 ounces. So what it says is basically spread out your toasted pecans, which I'm doing now. Make sure there's some everywhere. Those smell really good. Okay, and then it says to add your chocolate pieces to it. I'm just, like I said, adding a few, not very many, of the chocolate chips. Probably, I would say, a handful or so. Okay, and then the last step is to pour your filling over the top. And I'm trying to do this one-handed, so bear with me. Okay. Looks good. They're kind of floating. So I want to give it a minute for all of that filling to come out of the pan. And then we're going to put it back into the oven, and I'll see how long I'm going to need to bake it for. Now, it did not tell me a different temperature, so I'm assuming it's still at the 325. I'm going to move some of these pieces over because they have really floated out of the way. And I believe it's 30 minutes that we're going to bake it for. That might be a little long, so we'll just kind of see. It does state that if you want it to be a little bit gooier, that you should let it bake till kind of like the middle is not completely set. So I'm going to go ahead and get this in the oven. All right, everybody, so this is the finished product out of the oven. Looks good, smells good, and unfortunately, I have to wait 30 minutes before I can cut it. So I did end up having it in the oven for 23 minutes. So the timing is between 20 and 25 minutes, and it took 23 to get to this for me. You could go a little bit longer, but they said if you wanted it to be maybe a little bit of a gooier consistency to have it be not completely set. So I am trying it at this, and we'll see how it goes. Okay guys, so I have my little square. I didn't quite wait for it to completely cool because I can't, because I have no willpower. So I'm gonna go ahead and try it. I'm not sharing these. Best thing I've made dessert-wise yet. They are so good. So, big thumbs up, 2 thumbs up.
Way to go, Giada.
Thank you. No, it isn't. So good. That's Giada. So, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you'll try to make them too. They're great. Thanks. Talk to you soon. Bye.